What's up, desktopers? Xavier Wills here for Desktop Bodybuilding, and in this video I'm doing my wrap up and review of the 2022 Indy Pro. I've got the top 10 results for you guys. I'm going to go from 10th all the way up to 1st and break down how Blessing Awodibu won this show and qualified for the 2022 Mr. Olympia in an awesome redemption year. But we'll get to all of that a little bit later, and we'll start with 10th and go all the way down to 1st. So in 10th place we had Ray Short. Actually very impressed with this guy. He was super hard. He's got very clean lines. You look at his medialis on his quad, which is that inner muscle just inside the knee, and he's got lines, cross-striated across there, which is pretty rare in bodybuilding, and I thought he looked absolutely fantastic. Could he have placed even higher? Possibly. He was that good. So very impressed with Ray Short. In 9th place, we had Ross Flanagan, who looked really good as well. I predicted Ross up in 5th place. He came in 9th. I mean, really, this top 10 was all pretty close in my opinion. So a great look from Ross. Like I mentioned in the preview, his back is fantastic. He just needs to bring up the front a little bit more and the sides, and he'll be absolutely killing it in some of these shows. In 8th place, we had Slavoj Bednar. Now, he was just really conditioned, a lot like Ray Short. I actually maybe even preferred Ray Short, but Slavoj just had a crazy level of conditioning and just that real density to his muscle. 7th place was Walter Martin, who actually exceeded expectations for me because he actually looked better in his stage pictures than he actually looked in his pre-contest pictures, which he looked great in both, to be honest, but often it's the opposite way around. So I thought he looked really good, really dense, great quads, and Dennis James did a great job for him because I know he's working with Walter. In 6th place, we had Dorian Haywood. I predicted him in 7th, and I said that, often he's very consistent, and he'll probably place higher than that. He did. He placed one spot higher than I predicted. Looked great. He's always very consistent. He looks like he makes just these gradual improvements each year, and that's why he sort of tends to move up. So great work there by Dorian Haywood. In 5th place, we had Brett Swanson making his pro debut, and I thought he looked fantastic. I mean, he's really maximizing his genetics, in my opinion, because he's coming in as hard as he can, and he's just making those improvements. So if he can continue to add size, he sort of reminds me a little bit of a Josh Wade. Comes in super conditioned, not the very best structure, but he keeps improving on his physique. So I think that he'll be placing the top 5 in many shows in years to come, especially considering this was his pro debut, as I mentioned. In 4th, we had a real shock with Justin Rodriguez placing there. He was my pre-contest prediction to win this show. Placed, I think, 8th in the Olympia last year. Placed well in the Arnold. Placed, obviously, 2nd in the Boston Pro, beating out Steve Kuclo and Samson Dowder. You'd expect this guy to come in and win, but it seems like he's regressed a little bit. He looked a little bit flat in some of his pre-contest pictures, and I just think that his condition was blurred. I don't know what went on. He looked pretty conditioned in many of those pre-contest ones leading right up to it, but maybe they just missed the mark. Hopefully he's able to come back and qualify for the Olympia, because I don't know where the point system stands right now in terms of how many points he's actually accumulated. I'm assuming he'd have quite a few after getting 2nd in Boston and placing, I believe, top 5 in the Arnolds. So I'm not sure where he stands on there, but I don't know if that would allow him to be qualified or not. And obviously it's a risky game if you play that, because Steve Kuclo, he's top of the point standings, I believe, right now. And if he does a show then qualifies, he's off the point standing. So Justin moves one spot up again. So hopefully he's able to take some time off, and if not, hopefully he's able to just remedy this and come into New York and accumulate some points. And I'm sure he'll do New York because he is from there. So he'll accumulate some more points there, and then he'll be either qualified on points or a win. But I know Blessing Awodibu, who won this show, is actually doing that show as well. So it's going to be a big feat in 1 week, going from 4th to 1st and knocking off the guy that came 1st last week. But these guys all are pretty close, and if it was just a conditioning thing that he missed with in terms of that last minute stuff, maybe he can resurrect that and come back and win. In 3rd place was Max Charles, who actually exceeded my expectations. I had him placing down in 6th in my pre-contest predictions. I thought he looked better than he did earlier in the year. He looked more conditioned. He looked like he had a level of fullness sort of back as well. I don't think he's back to the best Max yet, but I think he was definitely improved. So credit to Max Charles on the look he brought to this show. In 2nd place, and who I predicted to place in 2nd, was Charles Griffin. Now, he looked disappointed with placing 2nd, but he made some great improvements since last year. He was edged out. His quads looked, much improved, just because I think they were so shredded and he had that little bit extra fullness in there. Upper body, always crazy full. I think he could have, opened up a little bit more in his side chest, but that's the only real critique in terms of posing. Looked sensational from the back. I thought he won the back shots hands down. I thought it was a very close battle between he and Blessing Awodibu, who eventually came out on top. And I mean, both these guys really were improved a lot since last year, so they're definitely contenders for most improved bodybuilders of 2022. So you guys will have to let me know in the comments. Do they exceed the, I suppose, the improvements of Samson Dowda? I'm not so sure, but I think Blessing looked absolutely fantastic. And as you can see here, this is by Fernando Arroyo on Instagram. He put the 2021 version and the 2022 version of Blessing side by side, and you can see the improvements. It's huge. Like in the quads, there is such a stark improvement. It seemed like his glaze and color was better at this show. It just seemed like he sort of improved overall in terms of his stage presence. Conditioning seemed a little bit tighter to me, just a little bit. But I just think as well, that extra muscle, that extra pop, it made him seem a lot more conditioned. It made him seem a lot more dense and hard. And obviously with an extra year of training under his belt, that's going to happen. But I just think it was a new Blessing Waterboot. It was a bigger Blessing Waterboot. It's probably a harder Blessing Waterboot. And it was just an overall more polished Blessing Waterboot. And when you look at his legs from the side, you really see the difference there. It looked a little bit almost died it away last year. And this year, I think he did a lot less cardio from what he's saying post-show with his new coach, George Farah. And it definitely showed in his legs. So I think that's what Blessing needed. And he filled them out a lot. Also in the 212s, we had Brian Balzano winning that one. It was a close battle between he and Noel Adami. Noel Adami had the crazy, hanging hamstrings from the side. But Brian Balzano from the front, his quads looked great. He had those great lines. Noel Adami had a few striations through his pecs that, Brian Balzano didn't have. But when they turned to the back, Brian Balzano had the etched out glutes like crazy. But Noel Adami still had very, very lean glutes and was very conditioned overall. So I think that was a really close battle. I'd say that Brian has the slightly prettier physique overall. I'd say Noel has some sort of slightly freakier body parts, but they're both pretty freaky in their own right. And I think it was a deserved win by Brian Balzano. But let me know what you think in the comments below about all of this. What did you think about Blessing Awardaboo winning the 2022 Indy Pro versus Charles Griffin, Max Charles, and Justin Rodriguez? And what did you think about Brian Balzano taking out the 212s? Guys, if you like and appreciate this content, please give this video a thumbs up, smash that like button, also subscribe and hit the notification bell button. That way you'll be notified of every video that goes up for myself, Xavier Wills at Desktop Bodybuilding. Also, head to hdmuscle.com, enter the code DESKTOP, you save yourself 10% on their entire range of products. And if there are discounts on there already, you'll get an extra 10% off as well. So that's it for me. For Xavier Wills, Desktop Bodybuilding, we are out.